Hey, this is Russ from the Infectious Groove podcast. Thanks for checking out our interview. Please hit the like button and remember to subscribe, share, and leave us a comment. You can also find and subscribe to the Infectious Groove podcast on your favorite podcast provider. Then check back with us on YouTube for a new vinyl video every Thursday. Now, here's the interview. We have with us on the line Bill Champlin, who you may know from Sons of Chaplin. He's been a solo artist. He was a member of Chicago for at least a couple of minutes there, 1981 to 2009. Did the lead vocals on my personal favorite Chicago song, Look Away. Had a hand in writing After the Love Is Gone by Earth, Wind & Fire. Bill, is there anybody you haven't worked with? It's an amazing list of names and songs, man.
Well, you know, Tiny Tim passed away before I could do his album. But other than that, no, I worked for a lot. I mean, at one point, when there were sessions, because I know we've got this whole COVID thing where people are sort of locked down, but the music business has been kind of a little shaky for, 10, 15 years. But I think downloading and Napster and that whole thing kind of threw it out of whack.
Absolutely.
But I mean, before that, when I first moved to LA, man, there was one morning I worked for Della Reese and I worked for Donnie and Marie Osmond in the afternoon.
That's
a
awesome.
Jazz record to a kind of straight ahead pop record. It was, and I've worked with Donnie numerous times. And what a great singer!
Yeah, for sure, and great showman. And we're going to get into that a little bit too about the difference between the music industry now and some of the artists now and what we used to have. I'd be remiss if I don't get into this before we get into your terrific new album. Do you have any memories you could share of writing such a legendary song as After the Love Is Gone? Like writing something like that is just amazing.
Yeah, we were doing my first solo album with David Foster, and Foster and I had co-written some other stuff on the record already, and God, what a great musician. So he came. At the time I lived 2 doors down from him, about 4 blocks away from the studio we were working in. It was like music summer camp, and so he said, "Hey, Bill, I got something. You got to come hear it." So I walk down the street, go to his house. He plays it. And he says, "I don't have the melodies yet. I got kind of the lyric and the melody on the first line of the chorus. After the love has gone," that kind of thing.
Sure.
And I went, "Cool, put it on a cassette and I'll knock it off." He says, No, I got to teach it to you. Yeah. It took me longer to learn how to play it than it did to write the rest of it.
I bet, yeah.
So I wrote all the rest of it, and it was supposed to be for my album. We cut it 2 or 3 times as demos. And it just wasn't quite making it yet. It just wasn't working quite yet. And at the time, David Foster was working as a piano player for some Earth, Wind & Fire stuff. And while they were rolling the tape back, he was at the piano. He started playing it. Maurice White came out of the booth and went, "Holy shit, what is that?"
Yeah.
And he says, "Oh, this is a song I'm writing with Bill Champlin and Jay Graydon. Want to hear the demo?" And he played the demo, and Maurice said, "If Bill will agree to not release it, we'll put it on an IM album."
Right on.
And the rest is history. I said yes because we hadn't really got it. The thing is that he wanted a couple more songs from my album. Mm-hmm. He played in my album. Most of the roughs are I think it was pre-mastered. They were pretty good mixes. But he said, "Man, I'd sure love to do that one and that one." And Dave said, "You want to?" You and I can write 3 or 4 replacements for it in no time at all. It might be a good move. And I went, "No, I think I'll hang on to him." That was one of my great bad moves. I should have done it. I ended up with like 3 or 4 songs on one side of the IM album.
Yeah,
which is kind of their. It's proven to be their Sgt. Pepper in a lot of ways.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
For those guys.
Well, we covered that. I mean, your history in music is just incredible. But let's talk about, right here, right now. Bill's got 14 brand new tracks for us from several different genres. I had the privilege of listening to this record before it came out. It's due out on January 22nd. January 22nd. And the album itself is called Living for Love. The first single you can hear now is called Reason to Believe. I want to get into some of the individual tracks, but what was your overall inspiration for starting out? Like, what was the first thing that said, "Okay, I got to make a new record"?
Well, I was actually writing. I've done some stuff. We had a kind of a band with me and Tamara and Gary Falcone. We did the Wonderground album. There's an album called Bill Champlin and Wonderground, Bleeding Secrets album. And I kind of got at least with my own rig, I got a pretty good production chops. And then at some point, that was done. It was over with. We, sold what we could of that. It was all happening. Didn't get a lot of press the way we are with this record. And at some point of the game, we went. I was writing the song "Living for Love." Just with all I had was an acoustic guitar and a vocal. And Tamara came home from the store. She might have been up in Santa Barbara, where she was kind of gone when I wrote it. And I said, "What do you think of this?" And I played it, and she went, "Oh, Bill, it's time for you to do a solo album. Put the Wonderground stuff away for the moment and just dig in." So I grabbed a couple things that we had planned to put on a Wonderground album, kind of changed them around a little bit so they were more in my vibe, and went to work, and which was really kind of cool. It was during the whole COVID thing. What else am I going to do?
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard you.
I think there are going to be as many records in 2021 as there were babies born 9 months after the New York blackout.
It'll be the musical baby boom, right?
Exactly. That's what's going to happen.
Here's hoping.
And, it's just as well as before all this stuff came down, I was kind of getting a little disheartened by the audiences seemed to want to hear something that they'd already heard. And so tribute bands became kind of the thing. And I was raised, wanting to hear new music. When's Stevie putting on a new album? When's Earth, Wind & Fire putting on a new album,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I've heard you say in the past that David Foster exposing you to a ton of new music was a really big eye-opener for you. Oh, yeah. How essential would you say, for me, when I listen to your record, there's a ton of different sounds on this. And over the years, has the exposure to different music been essential to your success and how you write?
Years ago, a guy, really cool sax player in this sort of Vegas-y show band that I met, his name was Larry Randall. He said, "Steal everything you like. Steal it. There's only 12 notes. You gotta, if you're looking to try to develop a style of your own, steal it. Absolutely go and steal it." And basically he said, just remember to steal from so many people you forget where you got it. Next thing you know, you've got your own style.
Sure, yeah, your own spin on it.
If you hear Willie Nelson in the morning and you like some little line he sang or something, steal it. If you hear D'Angelo in the afternoon, completely different types of music, and you like something he did, steal it. Try to put all of that, everything that you like, try to put it into your scene. After a while, he said, now don't do that thing where you're just stealing from one guy and copying his stuff.
Right.
Which kind of up to that point I was sort of doing with Lou Rawls. I mean, Lou was my phrasing teacher.
Sure.
He didn't know it, but he was.
yeah. He didn't get any of the royalties.
I told him later on. We became pretty good friends later, quite a few years later.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
So you've mixed so many genres and influences on this record. Do you think that the artists today could benefit more from that, like the younger generation that's coming up? Because I don't hear that a lot. I don't hear people wanting to be influenced by someone before them. Do you think we could benefit from that coming back around again?
Well, the last solo album I did, the No Place Left to Fall album, was about 10 years ago, maybe more, maybe 12 years ago, 13 years ago. But the last one I did, Dennis D'Amico was the A&R guy at Dreammakers Records. And he said, well, send me what you got. So I sent him all this stuff. But what I was planning on doing was like a blues album, a real swampy kind of blues thing. And he said, I don't know why you want to just do a blues album. There's a couple of cool things in here that are bluesy, but you got some great pop. You got some really almost jazz stuff. Why don't you do it all? And what A&R guy says, why don't you do it all?
Right, yeah.
For years, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So I think at this point of the game, a lot of musicians, myself included, they're kind of A&Ring their own music.
Sure.
And I just I've always gone, people that like my music would be a little disappointed if I did just one thing.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely.
One kind of thing.
Yeah. And we're going to get into some of the individual tracks. One thing that I really like about this record is it does take twists and turns. You don't just hear the same sound from one track to the next, which is sweet. And actually,
14 songs are the same sound. Same sound. I mean, it's the same singer, but 14 songs of the same arrangement, same basic chords and stuff like that, same keys, all that. It just would be, after a while, it'd be like a sledgehammer,
For sure. Yeah. And actually, there were songs on here, and again, we'll get into this, but that I expected one thing by the title. And then when I really listened to the lyrics, kind of got a whole different vibe out of the song, which is cool. The other thing I want to talk about before we get into the individual songs is the musicianship that is on this record is nothing short of top notch. Who's some of the players? Because I don't have I just have the digital edition that they gave us. Who you got playing with you on this? Because everyone is smoking.
Well, the very first track is Bruce Geitch was the guitar player and keyboard player and co-writer. I've written with Bruce over the years. He's in Nashville. I just say, hey man, think about doing an album, and boom, he sent me this, and it was an older piece that he had in his Pro Tools stash. And well, first of all, what I loved about it is George Hawkins, my old buddy George, bass player, who's worked on almost all of my records at one time or another, who just passed away a couple of years ago. And I'm going, oh, great, I got a George song on here.
Yeah.
And then I got a hold of Bruce. The minute we got the MP3 of just the basic track, it was just a rough of the track. I just went, oh, God, where's the legal pads? Where's the pencil? Let's go to work. This is beautiful. And we had this, me and Tamara had this thing, the lyrics and melodies written within an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Wow.
We jumped all over. And then I called Bruce. I said, who's playing drums? And he wrote back, he said, Vinny Colaiuta. I said, oh, well, that explains that, you know.
Yeah.
And this was
mystery solved.
Yeah, I haven't even talked to Vinny. I don't even know if he knows this is going on. I've tried to leave messages, but that guy's busier than a one-armed paper hanger with the crabs. You know what I mean?
And that's the track that kicks the record off, the first single, Reason to Believe.
And lyrically, I didn't even realize it until I was kind of putting typing out the final mastered lyrics. Because if you look at the yellow, legal sheets, it's just scribbles and, crossed out and stuff. So I was trying to get it to where if I'm singing it, I can look at it and know where it's at. And I listened to it and I just went, holy smokes, this thing is really all about gratitude.
Yeah, for sure.
And I had a really bad year about 4 years ago. I was diagnosed with really aggressive prostate cancer on Monday, and my older son, Brad, died the next day from esophageal cancer. Ugh. And then 2 days later, I had to fly to South Africa because I told somebody I'd play with him at a jazz festival.
Yeah, that's a hell of a week.
It was a rough week, I'm telling you. Luckily, when I went to South Africa, I was traveling with Brenda Russell, old dear friend, and Denise Williams, who is also an old dear friend. So, man, I was just, I walked into the hotel over there, and they were going, "What's wrong?" I told them. They said, "Look, I got a shoulder. It's yours.
Yeah.
Here's my room number. You need to talk at any time. You need to sit with anybody." Because I wasn't with anybody, but I got through it, and then the cancer took 3 major scenes. I did surgery, and then I had to do radiation, then I had to do chemo. So it was a year of fooling with that. So I realized at some point of the game, I've been a sort of a pretty good songwriting craftsman, but at some point of the game, I realized, hey, you've gone through enough where I think you could just go ahead and call yourself an artist and be that way.
Sure.
So I tried to put a little of myself into most of the lyrics. There's a few songs on there that are, kind of typically traditional R&B. My baby left me.
Yeah.
Took the car, left the kids, that
yeah.
kind of shit. There's something to be said, something really to be said about lyrics on an old Wilson Pickett record.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a man and a half, all that kind of stuff. It's sort of, there's something cool about it. Not a whole record, though. I think one of the things I always did, I loved R&B, but I kind of hated all the lyrics being sort of pedestrian. Mm-hmm. So I was one of the first guys that I know of to start taking really, really, better, more uplifting, Beatley or Bob Dylan-y kind of lyrics and putting them on R&B grooves. Yeah. I think me and Sly were kind of doing it around the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. So talking about the lyrics on this record, definitely putting a lot of yourself into it. There's a cut on this record called Another Lie. Yeah. That when I took it at face value, I thought this was going to be just a song of, betrayal, basic betrayal. This person tells me another lie, or I'm going to tell another lie. First things first, this song is sung with all of the conviction. The way that you deliver the vocal. I stopped what I was doing to listen to this one twice in a row because it's that powerful. It's totally different than what I was expecting. And the line that I wanted to ask you about is where the twist on it is, it says, I'd trade everything that I have to hear another lie.
Okay. A lot of songs, especially in country music, where you're talking about somebody who passed away, you immediately write it as though they were angels when they were alive. Mm-hmm. This song is about my son. It was anything but an angel. He was getting high all the time. And then all of a sudden he got cancer. We had I was with him quite a bit during the last 2 years of his life, where we weren't before. Because I couldn't handle how much bullshit I was getting from him all the time. Never told the truth. It was just who he was, and I wanted to write something about him, but I didn't want to lie. You know, I wanted to say, this is what it is. And at some point I was just talking to Tamara, and she's such a great lyricist. If something flies out of my mouth, she goes, oh, what was that you just said? Write that down immediately. You know, she's really good. If I go jamming the piano and if I start hitting on something, she's right around the corner with her cell phone recorder.
Nice.
Making sure I don't just, you know, stumble through it and forget about it. Sure. But so she just said, I said, man, I was just saying, man, I miss Brad a lot. I mean, I you know, I just want to, I don't mind hearing another lie. I just want to hear him. And that's kind of where the song came from. It took about 2 years to write that one. That sucker was like pulling teeth with a screwdriver. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. I appreciate you sharing that with us, because like I told you, from listening to it, you can tell it's sung with such conviction that I knew it must have been inspired by someone very
hard
close to you.
Sing, I'll tell you that.
And I very much appreciate you sharing that, because you know, I'm just flat out asking you about these lyrics, and you know, that's a pretty personal thing to share. So I really appreciate it. Another one that I thought now this is my take on the lyrics on this, and I want to ask you if I'm right on this, was a song on the record called "Alone" that seems to me to be about kind of people looking everywhere else for what they already have, like love from within inside. And it kind of, to me, it reads like a little bit maybe of the social media problem that we're running into with like everybody looking for attention all the time. Or am I right on that, or am I off?
It's possible. I think on that one, I sort of imagined myself in a scenario of somebody, of, you know, two people that started off in love, and they're in love together, and it's all happening. And suddenly she's charging her phone. She's looking at her things. It's not, do you want me to, you know, and you're trying to say, hey, what do you say we go out and have, you know, catch dinner and a show? Let's go to bed. Let's do something. It's, well, yeah, well, wait a minute. I got to do this. And I kind of went sort of a modern cold shoulder, you know what I mean? And that's one that I've imagined myself in this scenario. And that's what writers do. They imagine themselves in a scenario. Sometimes a lot of the stuff, like, you've been hanging out with other men, and people say, everything okay in your marriage? I said, yeah, it's fine. None of that's happening. Not in reality, you know, but it is something that a lot of people do go through.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of people see that. And Alone, I think nowadays, especially, I think the whole social media thing has taken, I think it's as much of an addiction as heroin.
No, I couldn't agree more. Yeah. Yeah.
And hey, put that fucking thing down and let's have a real moment. You know?
Yeah. You know,
somebody mentioned the other day, I said, well, you know, we have 6 feet between us. Nobody's touching. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody's afraid to touch, and it's just so horrible. And I think the music's maybe the only thing that's going to cross that line.
No, absolutely. Yeah, we definitely could not agree more. Another great song on there, and you actually talked about him earlier, Stevie song. Accurate title, man. It's got that 70s Stevie ballad feel to it, but it's not necessarily meant to sound exactly like Stevie Wonder. It's more in that lyric and melody, again, with like how music is a Stevie Wonder song and it can be any song, but in this one, it's a Stevie song.
Well, that was really, I mean, I was watching the TV when I wrote this, there was just riots everywhere. Everybody was out on the street, even the ones that were peaceful. Everybody was yelling. And I'm looking at that. People are yelling. I look at the news. People are talking to each other, and they're all trying to yell over each other. And then I kind of remembered back to, like, what happened to the time when Marvin Gaye put out What's Going On? Mm-hmm. And that was a protest song in a way, but nobody was yelling. He was singing beautifully. Mm-hmm. All of those Stevie Wonder songs had so much uplifting, spiritual stuff. And now I listen to, now you look at the music people are listening to, and it's a great drum track, maybe a great bass part, and a loud guy yelling. Loud. And I went, if everybody's yelling, nobody's hearing anything.
Absolutely.
So, and I kind of went, what happened to this world? And in a lot of ways, I was thinking in terms of the black culture and the young black kids that are doing what they're doing. And I'm not that guy, but I understand if you have an issue of any kind, yelling about it out on the street doesn't seem to get heard the way it should.
Sure. burning down a building, you get noticed, but
let's just go back for a minute. And then I thought, man, there's something, maybe your music might be wrong, because you're out yelling, your music is yelling, everything's yelling. Stop yelling.
Yeah.
Cut back this much. It's like that old commercial. When E.F. Hutton whispers, people listen. You know?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Absolutely.
Just bring it back a little bit, and you get. I think you get more. What's the old line? You get more grease on the wheel if you're, I don't know, whatever that line
flies
is.
Flies with honey and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, flies and honey, that kind of thing. So I that's kind of where I was at, and I knew I needed a little bit of a jazz ball thing, not jazz ball, but not jazzy, but I just always loved the chords that Stevie used to write. And so I kind of used that as an approach, and it just sort of came to me when I was jamming.
For me, the feel on it was, and of course I mean this in every way complimentary, was like a talking book, Intervisions type Stevie era, that. Yeah, real.
Thank you.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that for me.
The guy who really made that kind of sit nicely I had Steve Porcaro from Toto.
Oh, well, there you go.
come in and do some of the synth work on it.
There it is.
And the synth strings. And he's one of people, a very quiet guy, but I mean, all during the time of Toto and everything, this guy's the guy that really, David Page, no question what a monster that guy is.
Sure.
But, Steve's just wasn't quite so much for me, but boy, the keyboard and synthesizer stuff that he's been known to do, he's ridiculous. I mean, he's one of the best in the business. Yeah. Beautiful musician. Had a solo album out, I guess, about a year ago. It just tore it up. It was very gentle record. I mean, it wasn't really up and slamming, but God, it was great. Mike McDonald did a couple of vocals on it, and Steve sang a little bit, and he's a good singer. And it was just, if I could get Steve to do this, and I went over to his house and I just played it down. He said, "Oh, great. Show me what the chords are, because I can't figure them out."
Right. Well, that's great though.
If I can remember them. It was a while since I'd written it.
And it's great. It's toward the tail end of the record, but it's a great centerpiece for the record. And it shows off what we talked about earlier, all those different influences. And
there's no drums or bass on it.
Yeah.
It's just, and all through the record, I mean, I think every song but maybe one or two, Lenny Castro's playing percussion, and he's just brilliant as can be. Lenny's played with Toto for years, and he actually has been playing with Joe Bonamassa for a long time. They did a tour where it was just Joe and Lenny. I saw a thing on television. They showed some of the stuff that they did. And they were at the Vienna Opera House. I was going, nice nightclub.
Yeah. Oh, you're playing that old shack?
Yeah, where's the waitress? Not exactly an upholstered sewer here. What a beautiful building,
Yeah, absolutely.
I played in Vienna a few years back and toured through there, and I was just went on a walking tour of Vienna. Some unbelievably great music places.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. I've got two more things I want to touch on. One is on the record itself, and then I've got a follow-up question for you in general. Cool. The album closes with a song called My Time. Great reflective song. Right. It's one of those songs you don't have to dig too deep into the lyrics. It's pretty apparent with lines like "My time's coming around the bend." But I'll tell you what, I love the line in this that I'm trying to find the best of me, or I'm trying to find you the best of me. Right. Rather, what a fantastic line. Was that one of those moments where is that something that you said that
it just came on, and I just realized, I mean, I'd gone through cancer. I'd gone through almost, at one point, quite a few years ago, I went to have something done with my eyelids. They were kind of screwed up, and I needed to get an okay from a doctor. This was in 2014. And so I went to a regular doctor, and he says, "Oh, everything's fine. Everything's going to be good. Have you ever had any problem with your heart?" And I said, "No. My dad and my older son both have pacemakers." He says, "You're probably gonna too. You've had a heart attack." I said, "Really?" He said, and my dad had one. They call it ghost heart attack. In your sleep, you don't even know it.
Wow.
But it doesn't work so well afterwards.
Sure.
And so he's, that was on a Monday morning, and on Friday I had that put in. So I've gone through a handful of things. Mm-hmm. Getting old ain't for sissies. you gotta be ready to hang with some crap that you didn't have to deal with years ago. And I just at some point when I was writing My Time, I liked what the music was doing. I started writing the words. I wrote some other stuff, and I kind of hit on this and started writing, and I went, "Oh Jesus, this is the thank you that you can't say from the grave." Pretty much,
absolutely.
And this is like the first song, "Reason to Believe." Tamara saved my life. pretty much. With the crap I was going through, I could have just as easily just sat back and let it happen. And she really, I mean, I owe her my life pretty much. And that was kind of she didn't like to listen to the songs. Well, I don't want to listen to that. But, she's had her moments where she said, well, thanks a lot. The bridge on that is, the bridge is somebody, when you see someone smile, know it's coming from me.
Yeah.
And that's something that would, so I'm kind of, I just had to do that. It was just, that's why I say this album, somebody wrote something that I read or listened to or something and said, if it's not personal, it's not art. And after all the stuff I've gone through, you go through that kind of stuff and the list, you have little lists of things in your life. The list of what you care about gets really shorter and the list of what you don't care about gets really longer.
For sure.
And your viewpoint on the earth and life and just the whole thing, your viewpoint changes. Yeah. Suddenly it's like certain things are way more important. And I just kind of wanted to reflect that in some of the songs, if not all of them. But,
and especially in this one, it's a great way for the record to cap off. And it very much completes the message of the record as well. Right. Yeah. So I think what you got, did you get 14 songs or 16? I got 14. 14. Yeah. They cut the 2 off because I did 2 more for the Japanese release, which will be on Sony in April, and they always demanded bonus tracks. I've been through this before a couple of times. So I just, when I was mixing and mastering, I went, let's master it. Let's master 16. Sure. So that when we do get to a Japanese deal, they'll say, oh, by the way, we need bonus tracks. And oh, by the way, there they are. Yeah. As a longtime music, people got caught by surprise by that one. Yeah. As a longtime music collector, I can't count the number of times I've said the phrase or heard the phrase, well, the Japanese version's got the bonus tracks. So yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just, I think what it is they want to export, I think, and it's their reason to do it. They want to export that song to somebody who already has the 14-song record. Yeah, absolutely. Or real staunch fans who want the extra 2 songs. Yeah, absolutely. And the extra 2 songs are bad to the bone. We're thinking about maybe a double vinyl at some point down the line. Now you're speaking my language. And at that point of the game, I mean, think of the cover. I don't know if you've seen the cover, but it's just gorgeous on the CD. One of my favorite painters is a guy named Vladimir Kush. Well, we've had one of his paintings for a long time, but we happened to be walking by his gallery in Las Vegas. Tamara and I were there for some reason. And we walked by the gallery and it had just closed. And Tamara, we looked in the window and saw this picture called Symphony for the Sun. There's a keyboard down at the bottom of it and just beautiful clouds and birds. It was just gorgeous. And it's typically Vladimir Kush's greatest thing. The guy who was running the gallery opened the doors and said, come on in, man, we're cool. I'm still here. So we went and looked at it and Tamara just took it on herself. First of all, we bought that. Second of all, we got in touch with Vladimir Kush and licensed it to make a record cover out of it. That's great. And it's really beautiful. We just got the CDs a couple days ago, and it's really good. They kind of mess. Andreas Carlson is a really good friend of mine, who's he co-wrote a lot of Backstreet Boys and Britney Spears back in the day when they were really screaming. He co-wrote Bye Bye Bye, which that album sold 2 million copies in a week. Yep. That don't happen anymore. No. And, and that's the way it is, Celine Dion's thing. And Andre has been around. I've known him since he was a kid, since he was like 18 maybe. And we've just been dear friends for a long time. But he's got a company that does album covers. Oh, right. And they did the cover, but they don't speak English that well, so they kind of messed up a few things in the booklet. But I don't care, you can get close. If it's close enough, it's happened. I don't want to take them back and start over again. And the day that I proofread it, I must have been sound asleep because a lot of stuff went by that shouldn't have been. Yeah. But as long as you sound so invested in the cover art itself, and the music is recorded masterfully, and the lyrics are there, and you know what I mean. The lyrics are all in there. They're not indented the way I prefer. I kind of grew up in the thing where the verse is here, and then you go in 3 things to the B section, to the pre-chorus. Then you go in 6. You just do that thing. That way, when you're singing it, if you get caught up in it, and you need to get back to the words. Boom, you can find them. Yeah, you know right where you are. Yeah, and one of these days I'm going to have somebody write them out that way.
they just make a whole lot more sense. I remember when David Foster was doing the tracking for a song called "Is It You" with Lee Ritenour, and I had written out the lyrics in longhand, and Lee had the lyrics sitting there, and David, I think it might have been "Is It You?" It was either "Is It?" Yeah, it was "Is It You?" And David just took one look at the sheet and went, "Oh, you wrote this with Bill, didn't you?" I know how he indents everything. It's just it's an old poetic move.
Yeah, no. Absolutely. Bill, I can't thank you enough for your time. I've only got one more question for you if you got time.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So obviously 2020 didn't go the way any live performer wanted it to go. And
dude, I read something where when we changed the clocks and got an extra hour, and my friend Tom Hemby, a guitar player in Nashville, one of the best guitar players in the world, actually, Tom posted that getting an extra hour in 2020 is like getting a bonus track on a Yoko Ono album.
I saw that meme. Yeah,
that was insane.
Someone turned that into a meme. That's fantastic, and it's deadly accurate.
Oh yeah, it's right on the money. She's about I copped this from a movie, but she's about as popular as a truckload of white rats in a tampon factory.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, in my opinion, this record you've got would rip live. You guys would be able to really, really stretch out on this. Are you hoping to get out on the road and showcase this material in 2021?
Are you kidding me? Absolutely.
Right on.
You know, the mixer on this record was the drummer on 6 of the songs, Alan Hertz, and he did the mixing on it. Pretty good, huh? His mixing is insane. Big Pro Tools engineer, monster, just a monster, and one of my favorite drummers ever. He plays with the Suns whenever we play gigs. So I was thinking, you know, and he was out doing jazz stuff with Scott Henderson for a long time. Him and Travis Carlton, Larry's son, were the rhythm section with Scott Henderson. I mean, Alan's just a monster musician, great drummer, great engineer, and everything like that. And I was just talking to him yesterday. I said, "Hey, if we go live, you want to play?" And he says, "Oh yeah, I'm in. Count me in." So I'm already looking at cats that might be the right cats to take out. I don't think we need. What's cool is we've only got one thing with full horn section on it, and a few little spots with Mark Russo playing alto. Mark Russo is as good as it gets. He played with the original Yellow Jackets, and he's been with Kenny Loggins a lot. Let me turn this. Somebody calling on the telephone. Anyways, so the. Where was I? Oh, Mark played a solo on a song called "The Truth Has Begun." His solo was great, and then I just gave him the last half of the tag,
nice,
the ending through the fade, and he's just you know, he played with the Suns for a while actually, and I had, you know, and he tore it up. Tal Morris was with the Suns on guitar for a while. I got one solo from him. Carmen Grillo, who co-produced Stevie's song, played a solo on "Too Good for Too Long." And it's, you know, when I needed folks, I got them. You know, Lenny Castro's monstrous percussionist. He was on pretty much the whole album. I just gave him the drive and said, "Give it back when you're done."
Yeah,
know?
For sure.
So the people that I got on the record they really brought their A game. And it was just, you know, and there wasn't a lot of them. I mean, I did a lot of the bass parts myself. On Another Lie, I actually played Fender bass, which is something I don't often do. I did most of the rhythm guitar work all the way through the record, and most of the organ playing. Greg Matheson played organ on a couple things.
Right on.
But and because he's way better than me, he plays circles around my old ass, you know. And there's, you know, I have my son Will help me on a couple things, just keys changing, you know, computer stuff.
Right on.
But he's a kick in the butt. I mean, he's a Berkeley grad. He was also a finalist on The Voice, the TV show The Voice.
Oh, right on.
Season 5. So I mean, he was sort of the spoiler for the whole season.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that, you know, like, hey, wow, check this out. He did a version of Etta James at last. Whole place went insane crazy.
Yeah.
Right. And his coach was Adam Levine, and Adam had told him, just kind of keep it low, don't do licks. And Will called me and says, "That's not the way to sing an Etta James song." I said, "Go for it, man. Who cares what this guy says? You know, you sing circles around his ass anyway." He let it fly, and it was like the whole place just went crazy. So he's a really, really world-class singer, world-class. He works with Ableton.
Right on.
Does a lot of kind of EDM sort of stuff, but he's still got a really great song sense. So he helps out every once in a while. Whenever I need him on something, he's right there.
Right on. Well, we started off talking about your musical pedigree is just incredible. The people listening to this interview are probably very familiar with your back catalog, and I'm here to tell everybody you need to check this record out. Bill has really turned in a great record for everybody to really go forward listening to, man. Living for Love, it's fantastic. Yeah, I'm sure everybody will be able to listen to it on streaming and whatnot, but it's great to hear that the physical formats are coming too, man. So, and we want to hear you live later this year.
Yeah, the digital will be released on all those platforms on January 22nd. But if you're one of those people that don't like buying air, somebody said, Alice Cooper said, I don't like buying air. My website, BillChamplin.com, we have the album itself.
Right on.
And I'll probably stuff me or Tamara will stuff the envelope and send it out to you. So
right on.
If you like having a CD and the booklet and the whole 9 yards, you can see all the mistakes in the booklet. Yeah. But for me, the cover's flat out worth it.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, for me, I have an extensive vinyl collection. For me, it's very big. Like the whole piece is all the art, and you should take it all in. So,
I always just thought, you remember that gorgeous ear thing, kind of cartoon looking thing on I think it was the first or second King Crimson album. How that ear was like that. I just can't imagine that on a CD. That was That was this big, and it was wow.
Yeah, the art's meant to be appreciated. That's for sure.
I agree.
Right on, Bill Champlin, legend. We greatly appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much for spending so much time. Yeah,
and Infectious Groove, get the album. There's some Infectious Grooves on it.
Right on. Yeah, we will absolutely be promoted. Thanks so much for your time, man.
Great. Thank you, Russ. I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
All right. Bye bye.
Be good.
Thanks for listening. Remember to hit the like button, share this interview, and subscribe to the channel for a new vinyl video every Thursday. Also, make sure to find the Infectious Groove podcast on your favorite podcast provider and subscribe to the show.